I'm not going to bury the lead or give a very long preamble here. If you clicked on the video, you are familiar enough with the concept of Spider-Man and multiverses. My movie review for the general audience who gave it near perfect scores is also 10 out of 10. Very well animated and entertaining, lots of emotion, action and suspenseful moments, some fun reveals and lots of comedic moments as well. Odds are you didn't click on this video for that review, so let's get to why you're here. Also, full spoilers for the movie. I've been very vocal about why I hate diversity that hinges on riding the coattails of more popular brands, but technically that's not entirely what this video is about, even though that's a part of it. I hated a good chunk of the earlier parts of the film that started with Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales and their woe is me, I am so misunderstood drama, which constantly reminded me why I'd rather watch a Peter Parker movie, as well as why I can't stand teenagers and their angsty nonsense. And I know this may sound hypocritical because I've credited these movies in the past for being upfront and honest about what they are. This is a Miles Morales universe, which I knew going in, but one of my many personal biases is not really caring about manufactured teen drama. Thankfully, we got past all that and got into the meat and potatoes of the movie, which is where I started getting interested. But just to recap quickly, Miles and Gwen have family issues and both turn into runaways essentially, and Miles is not supposed to understand what is happening with Gwen, who is on her own secret mission, so Miles secretly follows her into a portal and we get to Mumbai, which is admittedly a cool name and place. I assume it's a mashup of Mumbai, India and Manhattan, US, and this is where my real problems with the movie began. There is a big fight with the villain The Spot, which causes colossal damage to the upper levels of the city infrastructure. Indian Spider-Man finds himself in a situation where he is trying to save his girlfriend in a falling bus, and her father, the police captain, Inspector Singh, also finds himself in a dangerous situation. Gwen then gets an alert that a Canon event is about to happen. At this point, I let out an exasperated sigh because I knew exactly where things were going. Either his girlfriend had to die like Gwen Stacy on the bridge, or the police captain had to die like Captain Stacy. It was a catch-22 situation. Now let me try and communicate this in the clearest way possible. No, actually, let me digress for a second. I have criticized Venom as a character in the past for reasons I will not get into right now, other than to say that he is not a thematically relevant villain for Spider-Man, and his origin story has been done to death. We can honestly just summarize it at this point if we must. Someone in the comments of that video said, "Bro is a loser, he hates Canon Events," or something like that. Comments don't usually get under my skin, but this one annoyed me. There is a game that copycats try to play with the excuse that they are respecting canon. If you're given the reins of a new Spider-Man property today, and all you do is copy all the events of the Amazing Spider-Man comics, or the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, or the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, or any previous Spider-Man property, then what was the point of doing it at all? We could have gone back and read the comics or watched the movie rather than waste money on this new thing. The term canon events in these stories are essentially the foundational events that led to a certain outcome. For Peter, he had to learn that with great power comes great responsibility and suffer a tragic personal loss that would spur him on to protect others. For Superman, of course, Krypton had to explode and he had to land on the Kent farm and not Russia. And for Batman, his parents had to die in that dark alleyway. The fact that these stories have endured for so many decades and have been retold so many times has created a public consciousness around these inciting incidents to the point of parody. I've seen my fair share of Batman orphan jokes to where they're not funny or original anymore. Deadpool 3 was a whole movie about meta-Marvel jokes which were funny in the moment, but quickly evaporated from conversation. What they were replaced with was the agreement that we are all tired of multiverses. Now, let me get back to my point. Characters are not supposed to be aware of canon events unless everyone just breaks the fourth wall now. The mere idea that canon events become a conversation within a story by the characters who experience them really devalues the events and creates the concept of predestination. Everyone just accepts that they are an unwitting pawn in their own story with no agency. They become aware that certain things are just supposed to happen to them or everything collapses. This creates a very interesting paradox for me, and I do not mean the Flashpoint paradox. The people who race swap and gender swap characters don't like the idea that Spider-Man is so popular on his own. He is not broadly representative of all races and religions, so we have to democratize the concept of Spider-Man to a broad swath of people. This is their mental process, not mine. The brand of Spider-Man must not be held by white males alone, and in saying that I have to clarify I am not caping for any demographic. It's just unfortunate that when you fight with a pig you get dragged into the mud with them and it becomes hard to tell the difference. I find reducing relatable characters down to their race utterly stupid and intolerant.
We don't do that here.
Newsflash, you can learn from, relate to, and be inspired by anyone of any race.
Shut up!
Where the paradox comes in is, they don't want Spider-Man to be exclusive to white men, but at the same time they want to perpetuate a monarchy where all these characters are predestined to be spider people. Hold on to that thought and allow me to go on another small tangent. A thing that hack writers will do when they co-opt a franchise is retcon the spirit of the original creation. If you ever watched the show Chuck, he was a random, unassuming California loser who worked in retail and happened to know a thing or two about computers. A computer called the Intersect accidentally downloaded into Chuck's brain and he essentially gained superpowers. In the latter seasons, when the show had become very popular, some hack writers decided to retcon the show to make Chuck special. The situation that made him super wasn't just random anymore, it was predestined to happen. And don't get me started with when his dumb sidekick friend got the computer in his brain, which just made no sense. But it was more of what I'm talking about right now. This is what hack writers do. Okay, you can release that thought now. These are the same people who hate the monarchy system, but that's just the hypocrisy of a lot of inclusion that leeches off a popular brand. The writers are always hacks. You don't think Peter should be special, but when you get the chance to make the Spider-Man brand black and brown and female, you suddenly want it to be fated that their circumstances were not random. The aspiration that, as a regular Joe or Jane Schmo, you can one day find yourself in a situation where you receive great power and great responsibility. No, they don't like that.
That bolt of lightning chose you. Don't ever forget it.
That aspiration is not a reality anymore. You have to be born with royal Spider-Man blood in your lineage. The royal spider people were predestined by their universe, otherwise their entire universes would collapse. The whole universe is held together by this one person. The world literally revolves around them and their actions. If the entire universe hinging on this one character doesn't scream narcissism, I really don't know what does. So I jumped ahead of myself a little, but you already watched the movie so you knew exactly where I was going. Miguel O'Hara, or Spider-Man 2099, is the self-appointed multiverse enforcer who reveals that every spider person has to lose their Captain Stacy or Uncle Ben or Uncle Prowler or whatever, and this is where it gets really stupid. Miles already lost his uncle in the first film, which would be his Uncle Ben moment, and the movie even acknowledges this, but now his father is about to become a police captain, so according to the rules in this universe, he has to die. I don't even have the words to express just how dumb and weird this idea is. And the movie takes the bold step of recruiting some of your favorite spider people into this cult to co-sign this joke of a premise. They actually pull all the previously established Spider-Man that we know and love to vouch for this foolishness. This legitimately sounds like a cult and I'm shocked it saw its way through production. All the Hollywood conspiracy theorists have fun with that. They pulled in our boy, the spectacular Spider-Man, in here to tell Miles to just let it happen. Like, come on bro, just let your dad die. At this point, my light nagging headache became really intense. I honestly could not believe what I was watching. I just had to cause a bit of chaos in one of my group chats, and once my friends started roasting me, I decided I had to make this video. In all my time reading and watching Spider-Man, I have never known the character to just stand idly by and let tragedy happen. The only person who was actually acting like Spider-Man in this entire movie was Miles. All the other Spider-Man were villains with no agency. Peter Parker is a very charismatic, interesting, and solution-oriented person, but all the Spider-Men here were mindless drones blindly following the lead of Miguel O'Hara, because that's exactly how Peter Parker would really behave, right? Let alone 200 of him in the same room. I might sound petty, but every movie is someone's first movie, and if I felt like going into conspiracy theory land right now, I would make the argument that giving Miles Peter's characteristics and making all the other Peters mindless drones or status quo followers was done by design. This new audience has to embrace Miles Morales and forget about Peter, but I'm not doing that today. The last thing I will say that just took this movie over the ledge was Gwen's discussion with her father, who she had run away from. He said to her that he had quit his job with the police, and Gwen's response and the look on her face communicated that he was not going to die anymore because he was not police captain.
Wait a minute, you're not gonna be captain? That means...
Yes, I intentionally left that for a second to breathe. This is honestly just as bad as the Martha scene, only it was couched in a more entertaining film. So let's get the logic of this movie straight. If a police captain quits his job, that does not violate a canon event. But if their lives are saved while they are captain, that violates a canon event. So is a canon event also trying to defund the police? Because it seems to me here that the problem is the title and not the relationship of the person to the spider person, which I thought was the point of the loss that inspires them to heroism. But I guess canon events just hate police captains. You likely already knew this before you clicked on this video, but multiverses are incredibly stupid, and their rules are even stupider. The reason all this logically falls apart is because the premise of a Spider-Verse is convoluted and unoriginal. Peter even tells Miguel that all Spider-Men are supposed to be funny.
You know, you're the only Spider-Man who isn't funny. We're supposed to be funny.
And if that's not the biggest admission that all these race and gender swaps are pointless diversity for diversity's sake, then I do not know what else to tell you. The Mona Lisa is valuable because there is one. Spider-Man stood out because he was one. I agreed to give this Miles universe a chance, but it is clear that I made a mistake. Ultimately, what this movie proves is there is no originality, nothing inspired or nothing additive about race and gender swapping Spider-Man. Every single Spider-Man is exactly the same except for their race or ethnicity, and this is just diversity for diversity's sake. What I'm coming to realize is I expect a bit too much from stewards of my favorite franchises, which is something I thought had hit home with my Insomniac Spider-Man video, but clearly, I still had a little hope left. That should end today. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.